What's happening, everybody? Thanks for tuning in to the Drew Deeks channel today. So there's three things I want to talk to you guys about. Now, I'm a little late to the party on this one, I know, but we're going to talk about Kirby Dach Cayden Primeau, and the main event of this video today is going to be my first mock lineup for the 22-23 season. This was a lot tougher to do than I thought, by the way, so I'm going to get you guys to chime in on your mock lineups. This is my first one I think I've ever really done, especially on my own channel here on the videos. So anyway, let's start with Kirby Dach, because as we know, Kirby just signed the 4-year deal, and I didn't get a chance to talk about this because I was up north on vacation. And then, of course, we know Cayden Primeau just yesterday signed a 3-year deal, which is a one-way deal, which is interesting for Cayden's sake. I still had Kirby's name up there, but anyway, yeah, just a couple quick things I wanted to take away from these guys' press conferences and what they actually had to say to the media and essentially to the fans, because as we know, the media is kind of a conduit to us, the fans. So when it comes to, let's talk specifically first about Kirby Dach. Now, I think the biggest quote that we got out of this, and yeah, he was saying the right thing, but he said that, you know, how is he going to live up to the value of this contract? Well, he said it's about winning Stanley Cups, not about making a lot of money. Obviously, that comes down the road, but that's the second thought after winning. So clearly, Kent Hughes, and as Kent mentioned in this press conference, they looked at Kirby Dach's character. It's a big thing with everybody they're bringing into this franchise. Character matters so much, what they value and what their goals are. And of course, Stanley Cups has to come first, and that's the right thing to say to Montreal Canadiens fans, obviously. But the fact that Kirby's willing to try to earn his way to a bigger contract down the road is very important. And he's going to have, as we know, he's going to have arbitration rights starting in the second year of his contract. But the Habs have team control for pretty much the entire thing up until the last year of the contract. So which is great news. And, you know, Kirby talked about having confidence in his play and how he's going to play under Martin St. Louis, and he'll be able to play free and use his creativity, which are his best assets. All right, so let's talk quickly about Cayden Primeau and what he had to say to the media. So a 3-year contract for him. They're clearly putting faith in Cayden Primeau. He had a much better playoff run last year with Laval. His save percentage was up in the high 930s by the time the playoff run was done with Laval. So his confidence went way up. And that was one of the biggest issues Cayden had going up to the NHL, was his confidence. He only had one registered win last season with the Montreal Canadiens in the short time that he spent with them. But confidence was his biggest issue. And also the other thing he wanted to work on the most this offseason was his size, his strength specifically. So Cayden has been able to work on that this past summer. Was his strength. He's feeling really good, and he's looking forward to training camp. So is he going to be the number one guy? Well, Cayden Primeau, certainly we know, especially from this press conference, that his goal is to be the number one starting goaltender for the Montreal Canadiens at some point down the road. Now, has he proven it yet? He has not. But I do think that they have put a serious bout of faith in him, and he's gonna be on the Canadiens, playing with the Canadiens at some point this season behind Jake Allen and Sam Montembeault. He's going to get another opportunity. But I do think that it's good to see the leap of faith taken here. It's a one-way contract, so good for Cayden. And I really believe still that he has more to offer. He's 23 years old. We have to mention that as well. So he's not developing as fast as, say, a Carey Price did, where he came into the league at 20. So we know that guys are taking longer to develop. So hopefully that's the case with Cayden, and hopefully we get, best case scenario, a number one starter out of him down the road. I really hope so. All right. So the mock lineup. This was a lot harder than I thought it was, like I mentioned at the beginning of this video. So I'm going to give you guys my first mock forward, defense lineup, and of course the goalies. We know the situation there. That's a pretty easy one to figure out. So let's start with the Habs defense mock lineup. This one I think I actually have to change on the fly, because I actually changed my mind just before I hit record on this video. But this is what I have for the mock lineup for the starting top 6 on opening night for the Montreal Canadiens for the 22-23 season. Joel Edmondson on the left, Kaiden Guhle, Mike Matheson, and on the right, Chris Weidman, Arber Xhekaj, and David Savard. Now, in terms of who's going to play with who, I actually had Joel Edmondson playing with Kaiden Guhle, Mike Matheson playing with Chris Weidman, and Arber Xhekaj, opportunity to learn from a great veteran defenseman in David Savard. So that's what I have: Edmondson, Guhle, Matheson, Weidman, Jack Savard. Now, I think what I'm probably going to do is take Jordan Harris and insert him here next to David Savard and take Arbor Jack out. I do really want to see Arbor in the lineup, but I think based on the size that we have throughout the rest of the D-core right now and what those guys are going to bring to the lineup, I think Jack would be better set to spend the first part of his season in the AHL with Laval. So I think I'm going to insert Jordan Harris here. I'll even do it right here on the fly because I do think that Jordan Harris and the type of game that he brings, the speed, the skating, I think we're going to see Jordan Harris actually start this season in Montreal. That's what I firmly believe. So I'm inserting him here instead of Arbor Jack. So I really think that this lineup makes the most sense, at least from my side of things. It was a lot easier to put the defense projected mock lineup together than the offense. And that's why we're going to go right into it. So this one was a lot harder for me to put together. The Habs mock forward lineup was way more challenging than the defense lineup. So let's just get right into it. So our first line, you might be surprised who I put on this first line. In a perfect world, I want to put Uri Slavkovsky with Suzuki and Caulfield in the first line, but I don't think that's going to happen just yet until Slav proves himself. So I've got Evgeny Dadonov actually starting with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield, a proven goal scorer, a veteran forward who I don't know how defensively responsible he is, but I think he's more defensively responsible than Mike Hoffman and Jonathan Drouin. So that's why I've got Dadonov starting the season with Nick Suzuki and Cole Caulfield. I think that these guys could just get off to a nice, relatively good start together. I think they could have some decent chemistry. Now, let's go into the second line. So I've got Sean Monahan starting on the wing this season with the Habs to take that workload off. He really wants to start the season on October 12th against the Leafs. On his birthday, Sean Monahan does. Now, I think it'd be less of a workload and less responsibility for him to start on the wing, and he can certainly do that. So I really like this pairing these three guys together, actually. Christian Dvorak at center. He's had okay chemistry with Josh Anderson. And then you insert Monahan on the left, Sean Monahab. And I think because these three guys are currently in the middle of their career, I think that this line could really work because for me, Sean Monahan definitely has to play with players that are experienced. I don't know that he'd be best suited to play with the younger guys at this point. So I think this line really could work well together. All right, the third line, this is where it gets interesting. So, well, I thought that was interesting too. But anyway, this is where I've got, if Uri Slavkovsky makes the Canadiens, this is the first line that I came up with in terms of who he's going to play with. So we've got Kirby Dach at center, Slav on the left, and Brendan Gallagher on the right. So personally, I think this could really be interchangeable throughout the season. Slav could bump his way up the lineup. As we heard in the Habs documentary based on the draft, Slav could bump his way up the lineup. He carries the mail. That's the kind of player that he is. So we'll see how training camp deciphers this, but I think Slav would be it'd be nice to see 2 6'4" guys and then Brendan Gallagher, the workhorse himself, playing alongside Doc and Slav. I think that'd be really fun. All right, the fourth line. This one was tough, and I have question marks also at the end of this because I couldn't fit everybody in. Believe me, it was tough, like I mentioned. Mike Hoffman starting on the fourth line with Jake Evans and Yoel Armia. So this is where I'm going to immediately put the question marks in of guys that I just couldn't fit into the lineup that I do think are likely going to be in the lineup, some of them. So Jonathan Drouin, Paul Byron, Rem Pitlick, and Michael Pezzetta. So where do these guys fit? It's not going to be easy, I don't think. And if maybe Slavkovsky starts in the AHL, maybe that's what they feel is best, which will be too bad because I really want to see him play on opening night because I might be at that game at the Bell Center. But if that's the case, I assume that you probably bump Jonathan Drouin up to play with, Kirby Dach and Brendan Gallagher, for example, or interchangeable on the second line, Jonathan Drouin could be. So as for Paul Byron, he could be starting this season. He may not be, but insert him into the fourth line. I think you could probably pop him in there with Evans and Armia. Byron can play center. Rem Pitlick and Michael Pezzetta, those guys are probably going to be on the outside looking in maybe at the beginning of this season, potentially, depending on how training camp goes and how healthy everybody is. So that's my first mock lineup. Now, the goalies, as we know, this one's really simple, of course. Jake Allen is our starter. Sam Montembeault, our backup, and we'll see when and where Cayden Primeau is able to fit in and get some games under his NHL games under his belt. But keep doing what he did in Laval to start the season. I think he's got to start in Laval, no question about it. All right, so that's my mock lineup, guys. That's the first one I was able to put together. It was so much harder, like I mentioned, than I thought it would be. So you guys put down your mock lineups down below if you like. I would certainly love to hear them, and we'll go from there. So thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks for the support. As always, you know what buttons to push if you're liking the content. So go Habs, go. I can't wait for the season to start. Training camp couldn't come soon enough. So thanks so much, guys. We'll see you soon. Cheers.